We're going to create the most ambitious, comprehensive regional sustainability plan ever, and it's going to be groundbreaking and lead the nation in how you address these issues.
LA County is a very big place. 1 out of every 33 Americans lives in LA County. Think about that.
This is an opportunity for the county to start to integrate and really respond to the voices of our communities.
Many times communities like ours are not listened to or not part of the process or just don't know how to be engaged.
When you work with electeds and when you work with other organizations, we can actually create plans that's more not just inclusive, but representative of what our community needs to look like.
What would you dream of if we had a perfect county that was healthy, equitable, and sustainable?
We don't have to choose between clean air and good jobs. We can have them both.
We believe in environmental justice. We believe in responsible sustainability, and we have an obligation to do that.
What kind of a planet, what kind of a place are we leaving behind for next generations?
People truly care about their community, and they're suffering real harms from the environmental pollution that's in our atmosphere.
We just need a better opportunity to succeed. That's the reason why I care. And that's the reason why I'm doing this.
Because we know that we have a responsibility to be caretakers of this place where we're at.
They're talking about the environment because that's the part that we all live in. It's universal.
The more we get out of this, the better we will feel, the better our children will feel, the better future generations will feel about what we are doing.
And I think this sustainability plan is one of those really big solutions.
We have the political will, we have the creativity, and we have the persistence.
This is a plan that's really going to be a roadmap for us all.
People coming about and having their voices heard, no matter what community you come from.
That's why this is our voice and our county.
This is our county.
Este es nuestro condado.
This is our county. Este es nuestro condado.
This is our county.
This is our county.
Es nuestro condado.
This is our county.
This is our county.
This is our county.
This is our county, and we need to care. We need to start caring about that.
Thank you so much for that video. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Katie. So I am Miss Anjay, career specialist assigned to the schools of engineering, architecture and planning, computer science, mathematical and natural sciences. Today we do have Katie and Ian from Buro Happold, and they will be talking to you today, as you all saw from the Zoom, wherever you got the information from to attend this event. So thank you for taking time out of your day, and I would pass the floor over to you guys.
Great, thank you. I love that video, and possibly because I do live in Los Angeles, so but I always get a little emotional watching it. I'm like, it's my county. But great, thanks for having us. Why don't we start? We'll start by introducing ourselves, and then Ian's going to take over and present for most of the time and share some really great information with everybody. My name is Katie Schwartz, and like I mentioned, I'm based in Los Angeles, and I manage campus recruitment for our US region. So that means I manage the hiring of our summer interns. Some of our offices have co-ops, and then also our graduate engineers and consultants, and graduate meaning entry level. So graduating, whether it's from a bachelor's degree or a master's degree.
Great, hello everyone. My name is Ian Nicholson. I'm out of the New York City office. I am an architect with a real estate degree. So I came on a couple of years ago to the city's team to work primarily on this Reimagine the Canals project that I will cover a little bit later. The sustainability plan, you may be wondering why an engineering firm is showing this video around all this community engagement and sustainability planning, and that's very core to what the city's team does around urban planning, around community engagement, and that sort of stuff. And we'll get into that as we move through here, in addition to the standard engineering stuff that we also do, some very exciting projects.
trying to move forward. There we go.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Buro Happold, we are primarily an engineering firm, a structural and MEP, as well as some other special disciplines, and as I mentioned, a planning practice called the Cities Team, which operates in the US, but also operates globally through the UK. Our discipline is our firm is highly multidisciplinary, and so we really cross all of the different lines of the building sector, from planning all the way through to detailing and construction. We have offices across the globe, in Europe, North America, Middle East, and Asia, including in US. In addition to New York and LA, we also have offices in Pittsburgh, Boston, Chicago, San Francisco, as well as our headquarter office in Bath in England, and our largest office is in London. I mentioned we're a very multidisciplinary firm. We have most of the standard, we provide most of the standard engineering services, from structures to facade engineering, energy modeling, alternative materials. We group our expertise in these different buckets, so to speak. But each project has a very custom crafted team that gets put together on it, and it can span multiple disciplines, or it can just be one specialist discipline. I mentioned I'm on the cities team working on sort of strategic planning. We also have mobility experts, sort of waste systems experts. We did a geo micro districts project that was looking at converting old gas lines into geothermal heating in Massachusetts. That was very, very interesting, and drew on a whole series of different disciplines from planning to mechanical, civil. We recently joined forces with Bright Spot Strategy. They are a higher ed consultancy, and so this has allowed us to create an integrated team of experts. Complex challenges impacting colleges and universities today, from space planning to strategy.
Oops, we lost you for just that last sentence. Do we have you back?
Am I back?
Yeah, now you're back.
They're now they're part of our team. They work hand in hand with cities teams and others to help address the challenges that colleges and universities face. We mainly focus on projects in these sectors, which we'll give you some examples of later in this presentation, but they include the student sector is higher education projects. The sector represents office buildings, corporate headquarters, city services buildings, city hall. We work in museums. Fan sectors for stadiums. We do a lot of work in various sports, in the sports sector, as well as travelers. So we have a series of airport and other transportation hub projects. So this is just some various statistics of the projects in our portfolio. We'll touch on that first one later on, but you probably read through this by now. So just to go through some selected projects in the various sectors. So in higher tech, one good example is the house at Cornell Tech on Roosevelt Island in New York City. It's a 270-foot tall residential tower. It's the tallest and largest residential passive house building in the world, which means that it was certified by the Passive House Institute, highest performance standards for flow performance and for mechanical and energy performance. This is the Olin Business School in St. Louis, part of the Midwest, the newly expanded Olin Business School program. The services we provided here were MEP, energy consulting, engineering, and the civic and cultural sector. This was one that was recently completed, very exciting project that's the period for living building challenge. So it's 50,000 square foot city services building in Santa Monica, extension of an existing building, and it's designed to meet the living building standards, sustainability, resiliency, and long-term cost effectiveness, and it includes this converting rainwater into potable water, which can very often be a permitting challenge. And it's also the first project in California to use composting toilets, which again, a big permitting challenge, to say nothing of the technical challenges of designing that at a building this scale. So the LA County Sustainability Plan, this was led by the city's team out of the Los Angeles office. This is what the video up front was showing. It was it's a groundbreaking plan that sets the direction for LA County to meet a series of sustainability goals, and featured extensive public engagement, as you can see in the video highlighted. Another recently completed project, very exciting, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures in Los Angeles. It's located in the historic May Company building, which is sort of the building in the here, and it included the extension that you see off the back, which is the theater and the Michelle and Barack Obama Sports Center, also in Los Angeles, that we're working on. Our structural sustainability and MEP teams are working on this project to develop 29-acre Rancho Cienega Regional Park in line with the wider community. So in commercial office, this is our office in Los Angeles that we fitted out. Buro Happold does have a JUST label. This is a certification for organizations focused around justice. We were one of the first engineering firms in the US to receive that label. This is the same, the International Living Futures Institute is the same organization that manages the Living Building Challenge. We have a large and growing footprint in Detroit, including this Hudson's site development. It's a 2.1 acre mixed use site in the heart of the central business district. We're working our structural MEP, code consulting, fire and life safety engineering, sustainability consulting, health and well-being consulting. All of those services are provided by Buro Happold and a series of collaborations that we have with SHOP. Monroe Blocks, so I'm also in Detroit, is a mixed-use development located downtown near the historic theater district. It's nearly 1 million square feet. It'll feature 5 buildings, 800,000 square feet of office space, 170 almost 500 apartments, 1,000 square feet of public plaza green space, aimed to reconnect downtown area of Detroit by unifying popular and accessible public spaces. It's slated to be the centerpiece of downtown Detroit's rebirth, connecting various new redevelopment projects. So the Anaheim Regional Transportation Intermodal Center, ARTIC for short, is a world-class transportation gateway rooted in the tradition of grand rail stations, yet embodying Orange County's vision. The first LEED Platinum transit center in the world. This was a very exciting project that was just finishing when I joined a couple of years ago. The main airport in Singapore, the Jules Changi Airport, one of the world's largest grid shells, and in the center of that grid shell is the world's largest indoor waterfall. So it's a very interesting and dramatic mixed-use space here at the airport in a city that's full of interesting sort of biophilic design densities. We also worked our MEP energy consulting. We have people movement specialists, BIM and data management specialists worked on this. Cisco, the Salesforce Transit Center, situated downtown. It's a multimodal transport hub. It will serve as the terminus for the future high-speed rail link and is a in Pittsburgh, we've been working to modernize the terminal at the International Airport. Taking a former US Airways transfer hub and reinventing it to meet the needs of the Pittsburgh region while reducing long-term costs. The strategy here was to make the airport smaller, actually, reduce the number of gates, repurpose existing terminal spaces, and eliminate reliance on the automated people mover system. We provided energy consulting and MEP services in this project. The athletic sector, one of our big projects in the US was the stadium in downtown Atlanta, where the Falcons, the NFL team, play, as well as the Atlanta soccer team. It covers nearly 2 million square feet and accommodates seating for about 80,000 sports fans, providing a venue that has established a new precedent. It is the first LEED Platinum certified professional sports venue in North America. Our structures team is also working on this stadium in Cincinnati, the TQL Stadium. It will be the new home for completed earlier this year in May, and it's designed to prioritize the fan experience and stadium atmosphere well. So now I'm going to veer off of the sort of portfolio model structure here and look at what we call the stranded assets proposition. So it's essentially a conceptual framework that we look at and across planning and engineering. And so what are stranded assets? So essentially, they're large public infrastructure systems or urban districts or anything else in our sort of built environment that becomes defunct or disinvested or underutilized due to shifts in the way that the systems function, shifts in the economy, shifts in how industries work, migration of populations, climate change impacts. And yet these assets are prime opportunities for improved quality of life and delivery of services when creatively reimagined. Large investments went into building these things, and they sit sort of underutilized, but they can be repurposed. So just a few of the different types of stranding, as we call it. So things can be stranded, through regulation. They could be stranded through sort of environmental impacts and changes, economic changes. So, jobs moving elsewhere or industries moving elsewhere, and technological stranding. And so in terms of typologies, we sort of look at it as in these sort of three buckets of public realm infrastructure, which could be railways, canals, elevated highways, post-industrial entire districts. In terms of, we can then look at it in terms of real estate portfolios and urban districts. Large industrial campuses, malls, very sort of top, current example, dying malls, dying strip malls that are ripe for reinvention. And then utility systems. So defunct airports are an interesting one. Different I mentioned the Geomicro Districts project in Massachusetts, where there's this gas infrastructure that, to decarbonize the economy, we need to move away from gas, but there's all of these pipes already built. And so that study was to try to repurpose those pipes to distribute geothermal heat, which was an interesting repurposing of a utility system. Of course, these projects, there's a lot of reasons why they haven't been reimagined yet. And go back to that next one. And those challenges that have prevented them from being reimagined can include scale. So it can be extremely large. It can be under multiple ownership entities, all kinds of complications that way. They can be very costly to reposition. And identity can also be an issue. So they might have historical resonance of some kind, or they might have the opposite. They might be, sort of toxic for cultural reasons, as well as literally toxic. But all of these stranded assets do present opportunities for transformation. That they provide the grease and the glue of the global economy. And while infrastructure needs are always changing, this underutilized infrastructure can be restructured to meet those changes. And they offer the opportunity to help build social and economic equity. They oftentimes offer the opportunity to assist in either fighting climate change or helping communities adapt to climate change. And they, of course, encourage opportunities for partnerships. A lot of these assets, they're very large and tend to require both the public sector and private sector cooperating with each other. So, in Buro Happold, we offer a whole series of, we do a whole series of services and work that helps to realize the reimagining of these stranded assets, from assessing the context of, doing the baseline assessment, market analysis, testing scenarios, analyzing data, to then sort of envisioning the transformation, which is a lot of what I do in Reimagine the Canals, of taking a stranded asset and identifying where the best opportunities are, and then assisting organizations in doing stakeholder outreach, competition management, RFP development, that sort of thing. We, of course, have a lot of expertise in the planning for the implementation. So putting together interdisciplinary project management teams, doing economic impact analysis, doing early phase engineering and technical advisory, and then, of course, realizing the vision. So infrastructure design and planning, all of the different engineering disciplines, even advising on governance structure and funding strategies. So this is a lot of examples of what we sort of consider this sort of stranded assets proposition, from the Highland. So we were involved in the Highland. We were the engineers of record there. So of course, a very famous example of a sort of defunct elevated freight rail line going through west side of Manhattan, being converted into a linear public park. I think it exceeded everyone's expectations by orders of magnitude, and really kicked off this sort of looking at stranded assets in a really serious way by a lot of people, including spawning the Highline Network, which helps communities and organizations to identify and reposition their stranded assets, from the Beltline in Atlanta to Bridge Park in Richmond, to a whole series of other examples. We can go ahead and move on to the next one. So I mentioned, so this is primarily what I personally work on at Buro Happold on the city's team. There's another 5 or 6 people that work on this project full time, and our client is the New York Power Authority, which owns the New York Canal Corporation. So the Erie Canal was built 200 years ago. It connected, famously connected New York City to Lake Erie and spawned the sort of economic dominance of New York. And it was what most people don't realize, including myself, was it was rebuilt in 1918. as the barge canal, and that canal actually still operates. So we still spend millions and millions of dollars a year operating this canal that was built for barges that no longer go through because there's pipelines, there's the interstate highway, there's a fully built out freight rail system. And so the canal essentially serves as a recreational corridor right now. But it isn't operated that way. And so about 4 years ago, we were brought in to help manage a design competition to reimagine the canals, which is where the name comes from. To repurpose the canal system for economic development, for tourism, for water recreation, for resiliency, climate mitigation. So a lot of great ideas came from that competition. We got responses from all over the world, and it spawned a governor's task force that was just starting when I came on a couple of years ago, and issued a Reimagine the Canals task force report, which had a series of recommendations around providing irrigation for farmers in the West to combat drought, of different measures in the East to prevent flooding on the Mohawk River, as well as strategies to improve the wetlands in the central region and to improve the tourism and recreation proposition across the whole corridor, which is 350 miles long from Albany to Buffalo, not even considering the sort of offshoot canals that go up the Champlain and Oswego and the Finger Lakes. So the image you see here is the infrastructure in the background there is a movable dam. So it's actually not a bridge currently. It looks like a bridge, but it isn't. It actually supports these metal fins that sit in the water and create that dam the Mohawk River to create a deep enough pool for navigation. And then in the winter, they raise these fins, hence movable. And so they return the river to its sort of natural height. And so the idea here is to create this pedestrian and bike crossing over this movable dam to the Empire State Trail on the other side, which is a just completed 750-mile trail network that goes from New York City up to Canada and then from Albany to Buffalo, largely along the canals. And making that connection to the trail in part to activate this site in the foreground, which includes a 200-year-old manor house that was badly damaged in Hurricane Irene, and reactivating the site for hospitality. So restaurant, overnight stays, camping on the trail, et cetera, to help revitalize the struggling town of Amsterdam, New York, which was once a booming textile and carpet mill town 100 years ago, but is now, I think, somewhere between a third and a half of its peak population. So it's a common story across the sort of post-industrial areas in New York and other places that we're working to sort of reposition and reconsider. And that's one of many projects we're working on across the canal system. So here in Providence, Rhode Island, this is a very interesting stranded assets project where there used to be an interstate highway that crossed right here. And so they removed the highway and diverted it to a different path. But they were left with these foundations in the river. And so rather than just remove the foundations, they decided this would be a good location to create a pedestrian connection to better connect College to the downtown and to really create a nice waterfront district for downtown Providence here. So we were the structural engineers on this project that creates that connection, but does it in a way that also creates public space. So it's not just a sort of straight line bridge. It has this sort of pull off landscaped area that provides you views over the river, provides you opportunity, landscaping, opportunities to gather and collect, and there's chess tables and stuff like that. So Buro Happold was involved in the 2012 Olympics. It was, I think, a big turning point for the firm. So that included the stadium as well as a lot of the master planning for the whole Olympic village. It was a brownfield site in London, and of course, you guys probably know the stories with these Olympic parks. It's a huge redevelopment effort, and so it was a lot of work going into this from a lot of different disciplines and many collaborators, of course. And so that, of course, leads directly to our work on the Falcon Stadium and on other master planning efforts that we do for various clients. The Battersea Power Station, so one of those examples of the utility, the technology changing, that this type of power station was no longer needed for actual power generation. It had been sitting empty for a while. And so this, I believe, involved an extension of the tube, the subway in London, along with a massive sort of adaptive reuse of this very large building. 253 new homes, a 2,000 capacity venue. It's a 1 million square foot building. So we did various design and planning efforts as well as environmental assessments. Of course, primarily done out of our UK offices. I already kind of mentioned the High Line, so probably skip this one. Everyone knows it well by now. So that's the stranded assets proposition. Some examples of what that means of applying sort of design thinking and engineering expertise to these sort of legacy infrastructures that sort of are all around us, especially in the East and the Northeast, and figuring out how they can actually serve the needs of the 21st and 22nd century rather than the 20th century. Okay, so all done with projects. Now on to the sort of other stuff that we do. We have a series of other programs that employees are involved with. One is called Share Our Skills. So employees are able to pitch a project where we can effectively share our expertise in a pro bono way for various clients, I suppose. So you can see a couple of examples here, the Bridges to Prosperity on the top left. Of course, a team traveled to Rwanda and helped build this pedestrian bridge. Top right is the Agritech Center in Cambodia, where they helped build out this facility for making rugs and other things. So then, of course, mentorship. So our engineers can choose to spend time mentoring younger aspiring engineers through organizations like those listed here. Spark helps middle school students discover who they can be through one of career exploration programs. ACE mentors high school students and inspires them to pursue careers in design and construction. The intern project paid mentored internships and career readiness workshops to high school juniors and seniors. So participation in these programs obviously is voluntary, and it varies by BH office, and the efforts were started by the BH grads. So this is very much a firm that if you're passionate about mentoring or other volunteer work, you can get involved or take the lead in starting a new program or reaching out to another organization. And of course, we do fun stuff outside of work, including the YEF is the Young Engineers Forum. So they do coffee chats, they host after work hours, that kind of thing. We sent a climate march in 2019, participated in the Gay Pride Parade. We do this Hackademy every year, where we spend time to investigate, what opportunities computational design and coding and other sort of digital tools have for our club. There's a podcast club. We do lunch and learns, holiday parties. We had a softball team before COVID. On the softball team once. I got to play on the softball team once before the season ended. And
Oh no.
then COVID hit before it came back, and we got demolished by Shop. It was a little embarrassing, but it was a fun time and a good
fun
hour afterwards. DIF, our Diversity and Inclusion Forum. They have a podcast club. I believe they have their own book club as well. They hold various events, and they're really, committed to both highlighting and encouraging and improving the diversity and inclusion at BH.
Okay, I can take over from here. Thanks, Ian. Just a couple more slides, and then we can save some time for any questions. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about recruitment and L&D, learning and development. As you may have heard Ian use the term grads a couple times, that's our graduate engineers and consultants, our entry-level roles. And really what Buro Happold does is really we want to make sure that we're setting our grads up for success. So our learning and development team, while they're always planning different learnings for all employees, they do plan and manage specific trainings for our entry-level engineers and consultants. So this is on top of the technical training that takes place with your teams. So this can be networking, it's business skills, it's professional skills. Really, this training is to help you, move from university student to a professional at Buro Happold. And it's not just like your first week, your second week. They have a lot of different trainings that take place in the fall. And then a year or two later, there's a whole nother set of training. So it's just ways that we want to make sure that our new engineers and consultants thrive at Buro Happold. We have a summer internship program. We're really proud that despite COVID, we did have it, this past summer and the summer before. I know a lot of companies had to cancel their summer internship program. We just took ours virtual, and it was fun. Our US region summer intern class is about, next summer, it'll be about 25 to 30 interns. In 2020, this picture is from 2020, it was a little smaller just because of COVID. We didn't cancel any internships, but we did pause recruitment. So unfortunately, we weren't able to fill all of our roles. But the fun part was, even though our interns were spread throughout all of our different offices, everything that I plan, and I plan a lot of stuff during the summer, we did it all virtually using Teams. So you might be, our San Francisco office is small, and there was only one structural intern for the San Francisco office, and she was actually based in Florida during the summer because of COVID. But instead of being the only intern in the office, she was part of the regional intern program. And so this is one of the pictures of not everybody, but a few of us just being goofy, because that's what we do. But paid internship program, a chance to work with some amazing engineers, consultants, designers, great experience for your resume. And our goal of our summer intern program is to find our graduate engineers and consultants. So our typical interns are a year or two away from graduating. And then if everything goes well, we'll extend an offer for you to join us after graduation. And our final slide is just a slide to share a little bit more about recruitment. If you like what you heard and you want to learn more about Buro Happold, about our job opportunities, everything for 2022 is posted on our careers page, whether it's an entry-level role or a summer internship, everything is posted. Here's a link to our careers page. We really try to make our hiring process as equitable as possible and as consistent and fair as possible. So we do ask everybody to apply online. There's no cutting the line if you know somebody. Everybody applies online, and then we review resumes and share with our hiring teams from there. There's also this email address, the US_campus_recruitment@Buro Happold. So if you have any questions, you can always email that email address, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So that's it. Thank you so much. We hope to hear from all of you. It'd be great to see some Morgan State applications coming through.
Thank you both so much for taking time out today. This was really interesting. So do we have any questions? If you have questions, this is the time. And if there are no questions, I hope when the students get to watch this again, the questions can be redirected to you, because I would share this with the students.
Yeah, definitely. Please, when you share the video, share that US_campus recruitment email. And if any students have questions, just have them reach out, and I check that. And along with Erica from our HR team, we keep our eye on that. We try to get back to people, if not the same day, by the next day.
Thank you guys so much again. It's truly a pleasure. And I hope we can keep this communication growing so that hopefully things get better, and sometime you guys can stop by our beautiful campus.
Definitely. Once things get a little safer, would love to be able to do, like I mentioned to you when we started the call, we attended the spring career fair earlier this year, and it'd be great to eventually be able to get out on campus and meet everybody live.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ian.
You're welcome.
You guys have a wonderful day, and if anything, feel free to reach out at any time, and I would also reach out if I have any questions.
Please do.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.